Now, the Three Martini Lunch with Greg Corombos and Jim Geraghty.
And welcome, everyone, to the Tuesday edition of the Three Martini Lunch, along with Jim Geraghty of National Review. I'm Greg Corombos of Radio America. We have bad, crazy, and crazy martinis for conservatives today. All of it brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Right now, for just $5, you can get the Dollar Shave Club Daily Essentials Starter Set, dollarshaveclub.com/martini. Jim joins us once again by phone today. Apparently, Al Gore didn't calculate what it would take to operate the internet in the rain. And if the weather holds up for another couple of days, I'm pretty sure once we're done with the podcast on Wednesday or Thursday, Jim and I will be tasked with rounding up animals two by two. Because we've gotten a lot of rain here lately.
I'm sure everyone in the rest of the country is deeply concerned about the weather problems in Washington, D.C. As everyone knows, weather is more important here and worse here. Actually, I would argue that it is simply because we have so many people who don't know how to handle any type of weather at all, whether it's snow, rain, wind, or anything like that.
Yeah. One of my interns drove in today and said, "What is with these drivers in this area? It's just a little bit of rain." And I said, "Welcome to Washington. Wait till it snows." Well, of course, you won't be here when it snows, but the forecast of snow cancels school, and you'll see people raiding the grocery store shelves and everything. But let's get on to our martinis for today. And Jim, we're less than 4 months away from midterm election day 2018. We still have a few primaries to go. But even as we see glimmers of hope, Democrats overplaying their hand, we've talked about Ocasio-Cortez, we've talked about Kirsten Gillibrand and that sort of thing. The fact is that in a midterm election year, especially when a party controls the House, the Senate, and the White House, it's probably not going to be the greatest year for them. When you look at the president's approval numbers and just how much Democrats really don't like him, it means that their turnout model for a midterm election might be a little bit better than in previous ones. And now, unfortunately, we're starting to see some evidence of that. Larry Sabato of the University of Virginia, of course, runs the Crystal Ball projection site. And for the first time now, he is projecting that the Democrats will take control of the House of Representatives. He says it's a little better than 50-50, so he's not guaranteeing it. Of course, a lot can happen in 105 days. But here's the lay of the land, Jim. They consider 36 House seats to be toss-ups right now. 33 of them are held by Republicans, and one is a member versus member seat that is considered a toss-up in Pennsylvania because of the way the liberals redrew the map there in a very convenient way for themselves. And if you're thinking, I've been on Twitter, Larry Sabato's taking some pretty hard shots at the president. I'm not sure I believe that he's on the up and up here. In this toss-up race between Keith Rothfuss and Connor Lamb in Pennsylvania, all the polling has the Democrat up double digits, and it's still toss-up for Larry Sabato. So he's not necessarily doing us any disfavors here. So, Jim, what do you make of where the trend line seems to be here?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to object to Larry Sabato, toss-up is the generous interpretation for Republicans. That's with the hand on the scale. Never mind on your side. Never mind the hand being on the scale for the other side. Yeah, it is worth noting that while we can see plenty of examples of Democrats fighting amongst themselves in primaries, the challenge to Dianne Feinstein out in California, Democrats not being comfortable with the idea of abolishing ICE, the polling numbers still look pretty tough for Republicans. And if you want to say, oh, big deal, the polling didn't look good for Trump in 2016, fine, but let's remember the national popular vote did turn out more or less in line with the actual results. There wasn't a heck of a lot of polling in places like Michigan towards the end, which I think might have altered the perceptions heading into Election Day. For what it's worth, Emerson is polling the Michigan governor's race. They have the Democrat up 7. Debbie Stabenow not even close to being competitive, up 16, up 18. The generic ballot is starting to inch up a little bit. Some good numbers for so even in Georgia, usually a pretty reliably Republican state. Survey USA has both potential Republican candidates in the runoff ahead of Democrats Stacey Abrams by 2 points. Better than the other way, but not quite where you want to be. Kind of passed us over, July 18th. Looking back, West Virginia Senate, Patrick Morrissey, I think one of the best shots for Republicans to knock off Joe Manchin. The Trafalgar Group, which is a Republican polling firm, has Manchin up 50-40. Look, maybe you could say this is an off poll or something, fine, but look, by and large, most of these races that Republicans want to win in November aren't looking like slam dunks, and in fact, you'd say the numbers look pretty darn ominous for them right now. You might be able to say, okay, look, it's mid-July. People will tune in more in November. There's still some road ahead, et cetera. All the usual explanations you can give when your side is down. And that's all true enough, but this is not where Republicans would like to be. And I think the simplest explanation is probably the most accurate one. If you're a Democrat, if you're left of center, chances are you are really mad as heck about Donald Trump and what he does, and he's in the news just about every single day. So I don't think Democrats are going to have to worry that much about get out the vote this year. I think, there's going to be an effect that's very similar to what Republicans enjoyed in 2010 and 2014. The question for Republicans will be, can you get your Republican voters out? And that will happen in some cases. It will not happen in other places. And that probably is going to be the difference for Republicans in a bunch of these midterm elections.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. The Democrats, the liberals, they're ginned up. They're ready to go. We saw that in Virginia and some of these other special elections over the past couple of years. So the only way to counter that is by firing up your own base. And what we've talked about in recent days with tariffs and trillion-dollar deficits and so forth, Republicans need to put some conservative wins on the board, fulfill some more promises from what they've been promising not only in the 2016 cycle, but in ones before that. So long story short, Jim, the Republicans need to clean up their act. So that's their job between now and November. If we want to clean up our act, though, personally, hygienically, we can do that through Dollar Shave Club. If you ever shower or brush your teeth, or try to make your hair look presentable, and hopefully that's most of us, we've got good news for you that Dollar Shave Club has a lot of stuff to help you out, because Dollar Shave Club has everything you need to get ready in the bathroom, and there's a whole assortment of products that you will love.
Dollar Shave Club, yes, that Dollar Shave Club delivers everything you need to look, feel, and smell your best. You name it, from shampoo to conditioner to body wash to toothpaste to hair gel, even a wipe that will leave your tush feeling tingly clean. I'm a fan of their amber and lavender calming body cleanser. I've never smelled anything like it, and good luck finding a product that great at the store. All of Dollar Shave Club's products are made with top-shelf ingredients that won't break your budget, and you will feel the difference. Don't forget that shipping is included with your membership.
Jim, I can also vouch for the amber and lavender. I don't have the cleanser, but in that giant box of stuff they sent me not too long ago, I got the bar soap version. Very, very good. Does a great job. So quality products all the way around. And now here's a great way to try a bunch of Dollar Shave Club's products. For just $5, you can get their Daily Essentials starter set. It comes with the body cleanser, the One Wipe Charlies. Yes, those are the amazing butt wipes. Their world-famous shave butter and their best razor, the 6-Blade Executive. Keep the blades coming for a few more bucks per month and add in shampoo, toothpaste, or anything else you need for the bathroom. Check it all out at dollarshaveclub.com/martini. That's dollarshaveclub.com/martini. All right, Jim, on to our first of two crazy martinis now. And you mentioned in some of the ominous news and Republican polling here for the 2018 midterm cycle is that a guy we really like, the Attorney General in West Virginia, Patrick Morrisey, is trailing Democratic Senator Joe Manchin. There's been 3 recent polls. One is 7 points, one is 10, one is 13, and those are head-to-head. But it might not be a head-to-head race between Joe Manchin and Patrick Morrisey.
I will beat Joe Manchin and ditch Cocaine Mitch for the sake of the kids.
Yes, Don Blankenship may not be gone altogether. The old coal baron who got slaughtered, came in a distant third place in the May 8th primary in West Virginia, is filed papers to run as a third-party challenger. He does have a problem, though, and that's that there are sore loser laws in West Virginia, and the West Virginia Secretary of State, Mac Warner, says that he is absolutely going to fight Blankenship's efforts to get on the ballot because Blankenship should have known the rules before entering the Republican primary. So, Jim, this has been kind of a long-running joke here. Mitch McConnell has come to embrace it, especially since Blankenship lost the primary. But we just talked about how difficult this race already was for Morrisey, and now we got this potential problem.
Yeah, so from where I sit, this seems like the slam dunk legal case of exactly the sort of thing that the sore loser law was designed to prevent. You get one bite at the apple. You can't, if you lose a primary, you don't get to pout and decide to run some sort of kamikaze third party campaign just to get back at the guy who beat you in the primary. In fact, if they, obviously the state is going to fight this, and this is the good news here, I think they've got the better argument. I know some other folks who I respect, like Ed Morrissey, have looked at it and said, well, the statute isn't written as ironclad as you might like it to be. I think if Blankenship does get on the ballot, then he will certainly have the resources to make life a lot more complicated for Patrick Morrissey. And Republicans will have to kind of confront the fact that we tend to attract, maybe say both parties tend to attract, but what do you do with these unhinged narcissist candidates who basically decide that they have a birthright to a particular given office, and that when they lose, instead of accepting, I didn't run a good enough campaign, I'm not a good enough candidate, my commercials looked like hostage videos, I have zero charisma, I have no constituency behind me, there's no compelling argument for why I should be the next senator, and oh, by the way, I did time because my mind's killed people. There's a pretty strong argument against Blankenship, but, if the legal challenge to getting him off the Constitution Party ballot line fails, there's really no way to stop these guys. And I think it's just going to add to the dysfunction of our politics. It's kind of a natural segue to our next martini, Greg. But I just kind of feel like, look, if you're going to run for office, I think you should be serious about it. I don't think you should see running for office as a publicity stunt, as a way to raise your profile, as a way to get a book deal, as a way to get a TV deal or something like that. I think, I want to weed out the serious from the unserious. And I feel like we are greatly hindered as a country the more that these candidates, Greg, are like cholesterol in the arteries of our democracy. Somebody's like looking at me and saying, oh, yeah, Jim, you're the one who should be talking about cholesterol right now. But anyway, you get the idea of America. We need only serious candidates, and this kind of spoiler, I'm just going to ruin things for the other guy. You shouldn't be supporting those candidates. And in fact, I think this is kind of harmful to our democracy to try to fracture the vote in as many ways as possible, to have people winning with plurality. Folks, this is just not the way the system is supposed to work.
Wow. Candidates who have no business running, seriously thinking about running. We're going to talk about that again in just a couple seconds. Jim, time for our second crazy and our third martini of the day, and that is there's going to be a lot of Democrats running for president in 2020, or at least a whole bunch seriously thinking about it. The record, of course, is 17 Republicans from 2016, and the Democrats might be on pace for doing just that. Two more names that are getting some attention today. Former Obama-era Attorney General Eric Holder, who was asked the question on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert last night.
Are you seriously considering throwing your hat into the ring for 2020?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, and what I've said is that I'd make a determination sometime early next year. But my focus really now is on 2018, the midterms, and trying to make sure. Yeah.
All right, so he's focused on the midterms, Jim. And then there's Tim Ryan, the congressman from the Youngstown, Ohio area. He challenged Nancy Pelosi for Democratic leader and got crushed a couple years back. He's now telling political consultants, according to The Intercept, that he intends to run for president in 2020 and is beginning to put together a team. But he won't be running on a stereotypical working class persona. Instead, he believes his path to the White House runs through the yoga vote. Yes, the yoga vote. Ryan has long been a champion of mindfulness, meditation, and similar pursuits, and has even created a quiet time caucus in the House of Representatives. So, Jim, as some people have pointed out, there's a lot of people who like yoga, so that might help him out a little bit. But what do you make of folks like Tim Ryan and Eric Holder seriously considering this?
Well, let's start with Eric Holder. I suppose you could say that as far as, compared to Michael Avenatti or some of these other folks, Congressman John Mulaney, Mulaney. If we can't remember his name, that's an indicator of how well known he is. Most people have heard of Eric Holder. I imagine most Democrats probably have vaguely positive feelings towards him. And it's one of those things where if there was a small field, you could see somebody like Eric Holder standing out in it. The problem is, and as I've increased, I think it becomes increasingly clear with each passing week and month, there are probably going to be a lot of Democrats running for president in 2020. Each week, somebody else, makes noises like this, and this is not the first time Eric Holder has said this, so it wasn't like he was making that much noise on Colbert last night. It's a free country and he can do it, but in a field of 20, he's just kind of going to get lost in the crowd. I don't think his record as Attorney General was as world-shakingly sterling. I'm not sure how much appeal he's got to the Bernie Sanders crowd. I imagine there's a segment of the Democratic electorate that still really much like to see a woman nominee, and I think that the likes of Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris and folks like that will have a bit of an inside track. very easy to see Eric Holder not making much of a splash just because of the sheer noise and cacophony that comes from all of the candidates. Joe, by the way, I think it makes each one of these folks feels an increasing pressure to announce earlier in order to stand out from the crowd, because the media tends to count in a form of one to many. That once they have more than three, they can't keep track of them, and they just turn into a big, generic crowd. And it'll be very tougher to get attention, interviews, and all that kind of stuff. As for Congressman Tim Ryan, I'm sure a lot of people wasn't he the guy in the Tom Clancy books? No, that was Jack Ryan. Kind of had some challenges in the past to Nancy Pelosi. Seemed to be a guy who was, as you said, developing this persona of I'm still in touch with the white working class. I represent a moderate, different, more old-fashioned, the Reagan Democrat style. And now apparently he wants to throw all of that away and go for the yoga vote. And I guess good luck to you with that. I don't do yoga. This will stun everyone. If you do, God bless you. I hope everyone enjoys it. I saw that David Frum pointed out that there are more licensed yoga instructors in the United States, 52,000 according to the yogaalliance.org, than coal miners. And he says, he thinks more people practice yoga than watch NASCAR. So I suppose if you want to run on the slogan, make America flexible again, he's free to do that. I just kind of have this feeling, though, Greg, do you think that we'll see how this presidency shakes out. We'll see where the country is in 2020. But after the, let's face it, larger-than-life, bombastic, constant headline-generating presidency we've seen from Donald Trump, Greg, do you see Democrats, kind of yearning for the guy who has the quiet time caucus?
No, I also don't think the Democrats are going to go with a guy who's probably one of the more moderate ones in the bunch. Yeah,
obviously, the other thing, in addition to everything else, House members traditionally have a very tough time in presidential campaigns. John Kasich ran in 2000. People forget about this. He had been chairman of the House Budget Committee, and he was convinced that, he had the conservative credentials. Ironically, his press secretary, Ed Gillespie, way back when. And I was like one of two people who bothered to cover that presidential campaign back when I was a ad poll reporter at Congressional Quarterly. And basically the entire country was like, who's John Kasich? And this has ever been, in Congress, part of the revolution of 94. My suspicion is that Tim Ryan has a much, even lower level of name recognition. It would be even tougher for him to stand out. I guess you could say yoga stands out. I guess if he gets into different poses during that first debate, then maybe that'll catch people's attention and things like that. But look, it's very tough to see either of these figures breaking through a crowded field that's going to have the Elizabeth Warrens, Kamala Harris. You still hear the Trump clearly is trying to go Joe Biden into running and things like that. So we'll see how things shake out. I don't think it necessarily should be a law that you have to win statewide before you run for president, but I think everyone should acknowledge you have a much steeper climb if you've never run a statewide campaign before in your life.
Yeah, and just to finish a point you were making earlier in your answer there, Jack Ryan from the Clancy novels did, in fact, run for Senate in Illinois, but then was derailed by some unseemly divorce records. He was the guy running against Obama in 2004.
That's right. That's the real Jack Ryan as opposed to the fictional Jack Ryan. The fictional Jack Ryan would have tried to get a way out of that unfortunate situation. And sadly, Barack Obama went on to win that Senate race, and the rest is history.
Jim, enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully our internet connection will work tomorrow. See you then.
See you tomorrow, Greg.
Jim Geraghty of National Review. I'm Greg Corombos of Radio America. Thanks for being with us today. Don't forget to visit our friends over at Dollar Shave Club, dollarshaveclub.com/martini. And tune in again Wednesday for the next 3 Martini Lunch.